On a wind-lashed night at an empty gas station, Claire, a worn-out black cashier dragging herself through another long shift, suddenly heard the screech of tires and looked up to see a Mercedes skidding in before its engine died right in front of her. A man in a wrinkled suit stumbled out, panic written all over his face, desperately pleading for help because he didn't have enough money for gas to get his feverish little girl to the hospital. Without a moment's hesitation, Claire rushed over and paid to fill his tank, even though she had only $42 to her name. But the very next morning, a sleek black Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up in front of her crumbling home, carrying an opportunity she never could have imagined. Before we go back, let us know where you're watching from, and subscribe because tomorrow I've got something extra special for you. The fluorescent lights above pump number 3 had been flickering for 2 weeks straight. Claire Miller made a mental note to mention it again to Ethan tomorrow, though she already knew what he'd say. Not in the budget. That's what he always said. She dragged the mop across the grimy floor behind the counter, her knee throbbing with each push. 30 years old, and her body already felt 50. The clock on the wall read 2:17 a.m., another 43 minutes until her shift ended, then the 20-minute bus ride home, then maybe, if she was lucky, 4 hours of sleep before Ella woke up. Claire squeezed the mop into the yellow bucket, watching the dirty water swirl. The night shift at Rocky Mountain Gas paid an extra $2 an hour. $2. She'd done the math 100 times. That extra $60 a week meant the difference between keeping the lights on or sitting in the dark. The wind outside picked up, rattling the glass doors. November in Colorado was brutal. She could see her breath inside the store, even with the heater supposedly running. Ethan was too cheap to fix that too. She pulled her jacket tighter and returned to the register, settling onto the stool that had one leg shorter than the others. Her fingers found the edge of her work apron, touching the thin outline of her debit card tucked in the pocket. $42.16. That's what the ATM had told her this afternoon. $42 until Friday's paycheck. The math played in her head automatically now, like a song she couldn't stop humming. Rent was already 5 days late, another $950 she didn't have. Mrs. Patterson, her landlord, had stopped being understanding after month 2. The eviction notice tucked under her door yesterday had been printed on bright pink paper, impossible to ignore. And then there was Ella's inhaler. Down to the last few puffs, the pharmacy wanted $35 for a refill. $35 that might as well have been $35,000. Claire rubbed her eyes, careful not to smudge the cheap mascara she'd applied 12 hours ago. She wasn't going to cry. Not here. Not at work. She'd made herself that promise 6 months ago, the first time Ethan had accused her of being too emotional for retail. The coffee maker in the corner gurgled, struggling to brew the sludge they called coffee. She stood up, wincing as her knee protested, and was reaching for a styrofoam cup when she heard it. The screech of tires, the roar of an engine pushed beyond its limits. Claire's head snapped toward the window. Headlights, too bright and moving too fast, swept across the empty parking lot. A black Mercedes, she could tell, even from here. It was expensive, careened toward the pumps, the engine making a sound like a dying animal. The car jerked to a stop at pump 2. The engine sputtered, coughed, died. For a moment, everything was silent, except for the wind. Then the driver's door flew open and a man practically fell out. Claire's hand instinctively went to the panic button under the counter. This was how robberies started. Desperate people did desperate things at 2 in the morning. She'd seen it before. But the man wasn't running toward the store. He was running toward the back door of his car, and even from 30 feet away, Claire could see he was shaking. He wore a suit, dark, probably expensive before it got rumpled. His tie was loose, hanging at an odd angle. No coat despite the freezing temperature. His dress shirt was soaked with sweat. Claire moved toward the door, her heart hammering. The man yanked open the back door of the Mercedes, and that's when she heard it. Crying. A child crying. "No, no, no, baby, it's okay, Daddy's here." The man's voice cracked as he reached into the car. "We're almost there, sweetheart. We're almost there." Claire pushed through the glass door, the cold air hitting her like a slap. "Sir, are you okay?" The man's head whipped toward her. Even in the sickly yellow glow of the station lights, she could see the panic in his eyes. Wild, terrified. "Please." He stumbled toward her, one hand still gripping the car door. "Please, I need gas. My daughter, she's burning up. I have to get her to Children's Hospital, but the tank's on empty. And He patted his pockets frantically. "I don't have my wallet." I forgot my wallet. My phone's dead. I just grabbed her and ran to the car and I forgot. Sir, slow down. I can't slow down. His voice rose to almost a shout, then broke. She's 6 years old, and she's got a fever of 105, maybe higher, and she can't breathe right, and I need to get her to the hospital right now, and I don't have any money, and... He stopped swaying slightly. For a second, Claire thought he might collapse right there on the oil-stained concrete. She moved past him to the car and looked in the back seat. A little girl, maybe 6 or 7, lay across the leather seats. Blonde hair stuck to her forehead in sweaty strands. Her face was flushed bright red, and her breathing came in short, shallow gasps. Even from here, Claire could feel the heat radiating off her small body. The girl's eyes opened slightly, blue eyes glassy with fever. "Daddy." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I'm here, baby. I'm right here." Claire's chest tightened. She knew that kind of fear. She'd felt it 3 months ago when Ella's asthma attack had sent them to the emergency room. The helplessness, the terror of watching your child struggle to breathe and knowing you're supposed to fix it, supposed to make it better, and not knowing if you can. She turned back to the father. He was still patting his pockets as if his wallet might magically appear if he just checked one more time. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold them still. "How much do you need?" Claire heard herself ask. The man looked at the pump display, then at his gas gauge. "Full tank, maybe $40 I can pay you back. I swear to God I'll pay you back. I live at..." He fumbled for information, his brain clearly not working right. "I'm Kevin Barton. I work at Barton Industries downtown. You can look me up. I'll give you double, triple, whatever you need. Just please." Claire was already walking back to the store. Her hand went to her apron pocket, fingers closing around the thin plastic card. $42.16. She thought about Ella's inhaler, about the last few puffs that had to last until she could scrape together $35, until Friday's paycheck, if there was enough left after rent, until she could figure out which bill to not pay this month. Behind her, the little girl coughed, a wet rattling sound that made Claire's stomach clench. Her hand tightened around the card. Some choices aren't really choices at all. Claire swiped her personal debit card through the register. The machine beeped. She authorized $40, watching her bank balance drop to $2.16. $2.16 until Friday. She grabbed the pump authorization slip and walked back outside. The father, Kevin, was leaning into the car, murmuring something to his daughter. Claire couldn't hear the words, but she recognized the tone. Every parent learned that voice eventually. The one that said, "I've got you. You're safe. Everything's going to be okay." The voice you used even when you weren't sure it was true. "Pump 2, Claire said, handing him the slip. "It's authorized. Hurry." Kevin stared at the paper in his hand like he didn't understand what he was seeing. Then his eyes met hers and they filled with tears. I can't." "Yes, you can. Your daughter needs you to move. Right now." That snapped him into action. He grabbed the nozzle with shaking hands, jamming it into the tank. The numbers on the pump started climbing. 1.2 gallons, 2.5 gallons, 3.8 gallons. "I'll pay you back," he said again, not looking at her. His voice was thick. "I promise. I'll find you. I'll just take care of your little girl." The pump clicked off at exactly $40. Kevin hung up the nozzle and was back in the driver's seat before Claire could say anything else. The Mercedes engine turned over once, twice, then roared to life. He looked at her through the open window one last time. "Thank you. God, thank you." Then he was gone, taillights disappearing into the dark. Claire stood there in the cold, watching the empty road. Her fingers were numb. She wasn't sure if it was from the temperature or from what she'd just done. $2.16. She walked back inside the warmth of the store, feeling wrong somehow. Too bright, too normal. She returned to her post behind the register and sat down on the uneven stool. The clock read 2:31 a.m. 14 minutes. That's all it had taken to change everything. She pulled out her phone and opened her banking app, even though she already knew what it would say. $2.16. She closed the app, opened her calendar. 5 days until payday. 5 days to make $2 stretch. The back office door opened. Claire's head jerked up. Ethan Cole stepped out holding a cup of coffee, his face set in its usual expression of mild contempt. He was wearing the same wrinkled polo shirt he'd worn yesterday, the Rocky Mountain Gas logo barely visible under a stain that looked like mustard. Interesting transaction just came through, he said, moving behind the counter. He set his coffee down and leaned over the computer screen, tapping a few keys. $40 on pump 2. Paid with. He looked up at her, one eyebrow raised. Your personal card. Claire's mouth went dry. There was an emergency. An emergency. Ethan crossed his arms. And you used your own money to cover a customer's gas. His daughter was sick. He needed to get to the hospital. Uh-huh. Ethan picked up his coffee, took a long sip. Did you get his contact information, license plate, anything? He'll pay me back. Right. Ethan laughed, but there was no humor in it. Let me guess. White guy, nice car probably told you some sob story about how he'd come back and make it right. It wasn't like that. It's always like that, Claire. He set his cup down hard enough the coffee sloshed over the rim. You know how many times I've heard this exact story. Oh, I forgot my wallet. Oh, my phone died. Oh, I'll totally come back and pay. And how many actually do? 0. You just got scammed. He wasn't scamming anyone. His daughter had a fever of 105. And you examined her, checked her temperature yourself? Or did you just take his word for it because he drove a Mercedes and wore a suit? Claire felt her face flush. I saw her. She was really sick. You saw what he wanted you to see. Ethan pulled up the security camera footage, rewinding to the Mercedes pulling in. They both watched in silence as Kevin ran to the back door as Claire walked over as she returned inside and used her card. When the footage showed Kevin driving away, Ethan paused it. Company policy is crystal clear. No personal transactions. No exceptions. You know why? Ethan, because this isn't a charity. This is a business. He pointed at the screen. And you just used company resources for a personal transaction. Or worse, you pocketed $40 from the register and figured you'd cover it with your own card later. Claire stood up so fast the stool scraped against the floor. I would never steal. Wouldn't you? Ethan's face was calm, which somehow made it worse. You're always talking about how tight money is, always asking for advances on your paycheck. How do I know you didn't just see an opportunity? Because I'm not a thief. Then you're just stupid. He said it matter-of-factly, like he was commenting on the weather. And I can't afford stupid employees. The words hung in the air between them. Claire's hands were shaking now. You can't be serious. Dead serious. Ethan pulled a key from his pocket and opened the register, counting the bills inside. You're off the schedule, effective immediately. I've worked here for 2 years. And in 2 years, you never learned the most important rule. Don't give away what isn't yours. He slammed the register shut. You've got 5 minutes to clear out your locker. Leave your uniform shirt on the desk. Claire couldn't move, couldn't breathe. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. Ethan, please. I have a daughter. I can't lose this job. Should have thought about that before you played Mother Teresa with my inventory. He jerked his thumb toward the back room. 4 minutes now. Claire's vision blurred. She wouldn't cry. Not in front of him. She turned and walked toward the back room, her legs feeling like they belonged to someone else. In the small locker room that smelled like cigarettes and old coffee, she opened her locker. Inside was a spare pair of socks, a granola bar she'd been saving for emergencies, and a picture of Ella from last year's school photo day. Ella was smiling, missing her 2 front teeth, holding up a drawing she'd made of the 2 of them. Claire pressed the photo to her chest and let herself cry. The bus stop on Colfax Avenue had a bench with a broken slat that pinched Claire's thigh every time she shifted her weight. She sat there anyway, watching her breath form clouds in the pre-dawn darkness. 3:47 a.m. The first bus wouldn't come for another 20 minutes. She'd walked out of Rocky Mountain Gas with her granola bar, her spare socks, and Ella's photo. Left her uniform shirt folded on Ethan's desk like he'd asked, like a good employee. Even after being fired, the thought made her laugh, though it came out more like a choke. Fired. For helping someone. The bus finally arrived. Claire climbed aboard, dropped her last few quarters into the fare box, and found a seat near the back. She leaned her head against the cold glass and watched Denver slide past. Empty streets, closed shops, a city sleeping while people like her dragged themselves through the dark. Her phone buzzed. Rent overdue day 6. Final notice before eviction proceedings. Patterson Properties. Claire deleted the message and opened her banking app. $2.16. She closed it. Opened her calendar. 5 days until Friday's paycheck. That would never come. The math started running in her head. 5 days, $2.16, 43 cents per day, and Ella's inhaler. The pharmacy wouldn't fill it without payment. The bus stopped at her corner. Claire got off and climbed the stairs to apartment 3C, her knee sending sharp pain up her leg. Inside the apartment was dark, except for a small nightlight. Ella lay on the pull-out mattress, one arm thrown over Mr. Hoppy. Claire moved closer, watching her daughter sleep. She looked so much like Marcus. Same blonde hair, same small nose. Marcus, who'd forged her signature on loan documents, who'd taken out $58,000 in her name, who'd disappeared 3 years ago, leaving her with debt she didn't create. Claire sat down carefully on the mattress. Ella's eyes fluttered open. "Mama!" Her voice was thick with sleep. "Hey, baby. I'm home." "You're late." "I know. I'm sorry." Claire smoothed Ella's hair back. "How are you feeling? Any trouble breathing?" "A little. I used my puffer twice." Twice in one evening was too much. Claire walked to the bathroom and opened the medicine cabinet. The inhaler sat on the shelf almost empty. She picked it up and shook it. The rattle was too light. Maybe 3 doses left. She closed the cabinet and caught sight of herself in the mirror. Dark circles under her eyes, hair in a messy ponytail, 30 years old and looking older every day. When she returned, Ella was sitting up. "Mama, are you sad?" "No, baby. Just tired." "You look sad." Claire pulled Ella into her lap. "Remember what I always tell you? We're a team." "That's right. You and me. We're a team, and teams stick together no matter what, even when things are hard, especially when things are hard. Is it hard right now?" "A little bit. But we're going to be okay. Promise. I promise." It was a lie, but what else could she say? Claire held Ella until she drifted back to sleep, then walked to the dining table. The stack of bills waited. Electric $127 overdue. Water $43 overdue. Rent $950 6 days overdue. Medical bills $1,247 in collections. And the pink eviction notice 7 days to pay or vacate. She opened the calculator on her phone and added everything up, then looked at her balance, $2.16. The numbers didn't add up. They hadn't in years. Her phone buzzed. "Mrs. Caton saw your light on. You okay, honey?" Claire typed back, "I'm fine. Thank you for watching Ella. Anytime. She's a good girl. You're doing a wonderful job." The tears came then, real sobs that shook her whole body. She'd tried so hard, worked every shift, cut every corner, and it still wasn't enough. The $40 she'd given Kevin Barton kept circling in her mind. Had she been stupid? Had Ethan been right? But then she saw that little girl again. The fever, the labored breathing, the terror in her father's eyes. Would she change it if she could know? Even knowing the cost, she wouldn't change it. Maybe that made her stupid, or maybe it just made her human. Claire splashed water on her face and made a decision. She'd find another job. Today. She'd hit every place in walking distance. By 7 a.m., she stood outside Target waiting for it to open. 3 other people waited with her, all younger, all better dressed. The doors opened. Claire walked to customer service. "I'd like to apply for a job." The woman barely looked up. "Fill out the online application. We're not taking paper resumes." "I don't have internet at home." "Could I?" "There's a computer at the library." Next was King Soopers. The manager looked at her resume, eyes going straight to her employment history. "Says you worked at Rocky Mountain Gas until yesterday." "Yes, sir." "Why are you no longer there?" "It wasn't a good fit." He handed her resume back. "We require references from your most recent employer." He knew she wouldn't. They both knew. By noon, Claire had been to 12 places. 8 wouldn't take paper applications. 3 weren't hiring. One manager saw a single mother on her resume and said, "We need flexible hours." That's not compatible with childcare, is it? The rain started around 2 p.m. Cold and driving soaking through Claire's jacket in minutes. She kept going anyway. Panera looked sympathetic but was fully staffed. The fast food place said she wouldn't fit the culture. The cleaning company needed night shifts 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. 5 days a week and didn't believe she could manage childcare. By 4 p.m., her phone died. Claire didn't bother finding a place to charge it. She ended up at the bus stop near her apartment. When the bus came, she realized she had no fare. "Please, I live 6 blocks away." "Can't ride without paying, ma'am." Claire got off and walked home, her ruined shoes squelching with each step. Inside, Mrs. Caton had Ella at the dining table doing homework. "Oh, honey, you're soaked through." "Just got caught in the rain." Claire tried to smile. "How was she?" "Perfect angel. There's meatloaf in your fridge." After Mrs. Caton left, Claire changed into dry clothes and sat at the table watching Ella work. The way she stuck her tongue out when she concentrated. The way she smiled when she got a word right. God, she loved this kid. And she was failing her. The thought was unbidden, but undeniable. Ella deserved more than this. Claire stood abruptly. I'm going to start dinner. In the kitchen, she opened the fridge. Mrs. Caton's meatloaf, half a jar of peanut butter, wilted lettuce, 3 eggs. Then she heard it. Wheeze. Cough. Wheeze. She ran to the living room. Ella stood, one hand on her chest, struggling to breathe. Inhaler, Claire said, keeping her voice calm. Where's your inhaler? She grabbed it from the bathroom, shook it. Too light. Okay, deep breath. Claire held it to Ella's lips and pressed. Click. Nothing came out. She shook it harder, pressed again. Empty. Ella was still wheezing, her face turning red. It's okay, baby. Claire grabbed her hand. Slow breathing, remember. They sat on the floor, in through the nose, out through the mouth. After 5 minutes, Ella's breathing evened out. The wheezing quieted. Claire held her daughter close, fighting to keep her own breathing steady. This was fine. Ella was fine. But what about tomorrow? What about the next attack? That night after Ella slept, Claire sat at the table staring at bills she couldn't pay. Her phone lit up another debt collector. She walked to the window. The rain had stopped. The streetlight flickered on wet pavement. A thought crept in. Had the $40 been worth it? Had helping a stranger cost her daughter her health? Claire pressed her forehead against the glass. In the Mercedes, that little girl had been burning with fever, struggling to breathe. Just like Ella struggled now. Was kindness selfish when you had nothing to give? Claire didn't know. She stood at the window, feeling the weight of every decision pressing down on her shoulders. Tomorrow she'd try again. More applications, more rejections. But tonight she just stood in the dark, wondering how much longer she could keep pretending everything would be okay. Morning came too fast. Claire woke up with her neck cramped from falling asleep at the table. The bills were still spread out in front of her, the numbers just as impossible in daylight as they'd been at 3 a.m. Her phone said 8:43 a.m. She'd slept through her alarm. Claire jumped up, then remembered she didn't have anywhere to be. No job, no shift, nothing. Ella was still asleep on the pull-out mattress, Mr. Hoppy clutched in her arms. Claire watched her breathe for a moment, in and out, steady and even. No wheezing this morning. Small mercies. Claire made coffee with the last of the grounds, adding water to the pot twice to stretch it. The liquid came out pale brown, barely coffee at all, but it was hot, and it was something. She was standing at the counter, staring at nothing, when the knock came. 3 sharp raps, official sounding. Claire's stomach dropped. The landlord, or the police, or someone here to serve papers. Nothing good came from knocks like that. She set down her coffee and walked to the door, preparing her excuses. I'll have the rent by Friday. I just need a few more days. Please, I have a daughter. Claire opened the door. A man stood in the hallway. Not Mrs. Patterson. Not anyone Claire recognized. He wore an expensive suit, dark gray, perfectly tailored. His shoes were shined to a mirror finish. Behind him stood another man, older, maybe 65, with silver hair and the kind of posture that came from a lifetime of people listening when you spoke. And behind both of them, visible through the window at the end of the hallway, was a car. A Rolls Royce. Claire knew that hood ornament. She'd seen it in movies. The younger man looked at her and his face crumpled. It's you. Oh God, it's really you. Claire's hand tightened on the doorknob. I'm sorry, do I know you? You probably don't remember me. It was dark and I wasn't myself. But you saved my daughter's life. Recognition hit Claire like a physical thing. The Mercedes, the fever, the desperate father at 2 a.m. Kevin, she said. He nodded and his eyes filled with tears. Right there in her hallway, this man in his $1,000 suit started crying. I've been looking for you for 3 days, he said. I went back to the gas station, but they said you didn't work there anymore. They wouldn't give me your information. I had to go through security footage, track down the bus routes, talk to every building manager in a 6-block radius. The older man put a hand on Kevin's shoulder. Son, breathe. Kevin took a shaky breath. My daughter is okay. Emma is okay. We got to the hospital with maybe 10 minutes to spare. Her fever had spiked to 106. The doctor said if we'd been even 15 minutes later, he couldn't finish. Claire stood there frozen. This felt surreal. I owe you $40. Kevin continued pulling out his wallet. Plus interest, plus anything else you need. Name it, please. He started pulling out bills. Hundreds, multiple hundreds. No. Claire found her voice. I don't want your money. Both men stared at her. But I owe you. I made a promise. You promised to take care of your daughter. You did that. We're even." The older man stepped forward. "May we come in? Just for a moment. I'm Richard Barton, Kevin's father." Claire glanced back at her apartment, at the sagging couch and the pull-out mattress and the stack of bills on the table. "It's not much," she said. "We don't care about that." Richard's voice was gentle. "Please." Claire stepped aside. The two men entered, and she was suddenly aware of how small the space was, how the ceiling had a water stain, how the carpet was worn through in places. Richard looked around without judgment. He just nodded as if confirming something to himself. Kevin went to the window, his shoulders shaking slightly. "Is your daughter here?" Richard asked. "She's sleeping." "Good, let her sleep." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. "Before we discuss anything else, I want to give you this." Claire didn't take it. "I told you I don't want money." "It's not charity. It's what you're owed." Richard set the envelope on the table. $40 for the gas, and another $200 as a thank you for saving my granddaughter's life. I didn't do it for a reward. I know you didn't. That's precisely why you deserve it. Claire looked at the envelope. $240, Ella's inhaler, part of the electric bill, groceries. But taking it felt wrong. Richard seemed to read her mind. You helped because it was the right thing to do. I respect that. But consider this. You lost your job because of what you did. I made some calls. As of this morning, I own Rocky Mountain Gas, the entire chain, all 47 locations. Claire's mouth fell open. "You, what?" Kevin turned from the window, smiling now. "Ethan Cole was fired at 9 a.m. this morning. Security walked him out." "The point is," Richard continued, "you made a sacrifice. The least I can do is ensure you don't suffer for that kindness. This isn't guilt money. This is justice. And it's also an investment in you." Before Claire could respond, Ella appeared from around the corner, rubbing her eyes. She stopped when she saw the strangers moving closer to Claire. "It's okay, baby," Claire said. "These are friends. This is Mr. Barton and his son, Mr. Kevin." "Hi," Ella said quietly. Richard's demeanor changed completely. The business executive disappeared, replaced by someone softer. "Hello there. You must be Ella." Kevin knelt down to Ella's level. "I have a daughter about your age. Her name is Emma. She really likes unicorns and soccer. What do you like?" "Drawing. And rabbits." Kevin smiled. "That's Mr. Hoppy." He pointed to the stuffed animal on the mattress. "He is. He protects me from bad dreams." Richard pulled another envelope from his pocket and handed it to Kevin, who gave it to Ella. "This is from Emma. She wanted me to give it to the nice lady who helped her daddy." Ella looked at Claire, who nodded. Ella opened the envelope carefully. Inside was a drawing, two stick figures holding hands under a rainbow, one labeled Emma and the other the nice lady. At the bottom, "Thank you for saving my life." Ella studied it seriously. "She's a good drawer. She worked on it all day yesterday," Kevin said. Claire felt her throat tighten. She squeezed Ella's shoulder gently. Richard cleared his throat. "Claire, could we speak privately, perhaps in the hallway?" Claire nodded. "Ella, stay here with Mr. Kevin, okay? Can I show him my drawings?" "Of course." In the hallway, Richard closed the door. The Rolls-Royce was still visible through the window, absurdly out of place. "I'm going to be direct," Richard said. "I watched the security footage from that night. All of it. I saw how that manager treated you. I saw you use your own money without hesitation." Claire didn't say anything. "I learned about your situation. Single mother. Working night shifts. Living paycheck to paycheck. I'm not judging, I'm stating facts. And here's another fact, I need someone like you working for me." "I don't understand." "I just acquired a chain of gas stations with a corporate culture that thinks firing good employees is acceptable. I need to change that culture. I need someone who understands what it's like to be on the other side of that counter, someone who leads with empathy." "You want me to work at a gas station again?" "No, I want you to run them." Claire laughed. She couldn't help it. "Run them." "I don't have a business degree. I barely finished one semester of community college. Qualifications can be taught. Character can't. You showed more leadership in that 2-minute interaction than most of my executives show in a year." "That's insane." "Is it? You made a decision under pressure that saved a child's life. You prioritized human need over personal cost. You did the right thing even when no one was watching. That's exactly who I want representing my company." Claire shook her head. "I don't know anything about running a business." "Then I'll teach you. Regional Operations Manager. You'll oversee 10 locations in the Denver metro area. Salary is $65,000 a year plus bonuses. Full health insurance, medical dental vision for you and Ella. 4 weeks paid vacation, company car. The numbers hit Claire like a punch. $65,000, she'd made $18,000 last year. This is crazy. This is an opportunity. For someone qualified. You are qualified. You just don't know it yet. Richard pulled out a business card and pressed it into her hand. Think about it. Talk to your daughter, but know this. I don't make offers I don't mean. And I don't invest in people I don't believe in. He turned to leave, then stopped. That manager told me you were too emotional for retail, that you made poor decisions based on feelings rather than logic. Claire's face burned. He said that. He did. And you know what I told him? Empathy isn't a weakness in business. It's a superpower. The only people who think otherwise are the ones who don't have any. He walked away, his expensive shoes clicking on the tile floor. Claire stood there holding the business card. Richard Barton, CEO, Barton Industries. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. She went back inside. Kevin was on the floor with Ella looking at her drawings. He'd taken off his jacket and was genuinely complimenting a crayon drawing of Mr. Hoppy wearing a crown. He stood when Claire entered. I should go. Thank you for letting me see you. For letting me say thank you in person. How's Emma really? Home. Happy. Asking when she can meet the nice lady who helped Daddy. Kevin's eyes got shiny again. She doesn't really understand what almost happened, but I do. Every day I'll wake up grateful that you were working that night. After they left, Claire sat at the table. The 2 envelopes lay there. She opened the first one. $240 in cash. Ella climbed into her lap. Mama, Mr. Kevin said his daughter was really sick, but she's better now. Did you help them? I gave them some gas when they needed it. That was nice. It was the right thing to do. That's what you always say. Do the right thing even when it's hard. Claire hugged her daughter tight. Yeah, baby. That's what I always say. She looked at the business card, at the money, at her daughter who deserved so much more than this. Maybe, just maybe, doing the right thing was finally going to pay off. Claire didn't sleep that night. She lay on the pull-out mattress next to Ella, staring at the ceiling, turning Richard Barton's business card over and over in her hands. $65,000 a year. She tried to imagine what that meant. It was such an enormous number that her brain couldn't process it. She'd never made more than $10 an hour in her life. $65,000 divided by 12 months was, she pulled out her phone and calculated it, $5,416 a month. Her rent was $950. She'd have money left over, actual money left over after paying rent. But there had to be a catch. People like Richard Barton didn't just hand out jobs to people like her. This was probably some kind of publicity stunt. Or maybe he felt guilty and would give her the job for a few months before finding a reason to let her go. Or maybe, and this thought made her stomach turn, maybe he expected something else, something she wasn't willing to give. Claire put the card down and pulled Ella closer. Her daughter slept soundly, her breathing even and clear. In the morning, Claire would use the $240 to buy the inhaler. That was something real, something she could trust. The rest of it, the job offer, that felt like a dream that would dissolve in daylight. But when morning came, the business card was still there. And so was the money. Claire called the pharmacy as soon as they opened. I need to refill a prescription for Ella Miller. I can pay today. Wonderful. We can have it ready in about an hour. 1 hour. After 3 days of panic, of watching her daughter struggle, of feeling like the world's worst mother, 1 hour. And Ella would have her medicine again. Claire walked to the pharmacy, the cash tucked safely in her pocket. She kept her hand on it the whole way, terrified someone would somehow know she was carrying more money than she'd seen in months. The pharmacist smiled when she arrived. $35, please. Claire handed over the cash and watched the woman count it. 2 20s, 110, 15. The woman put it in the register and handed Claire the small white bag. Thank you, Claire said, and meant it with her whole heart. Walking home, she felt lighter. One problem solved, just a few dozen more to go. Back at the apartment, she found Mrs. Caton knocking on her door. Oh, good, you're here, the older woman said. I brought banana bread, just came out of the oven. Mrs. Caton, you have to stop feeding us. Nonsense, I made too much. Can't let it go to waste. She handed over the loaf, still warm, wrapped in a kitchen towel. Then she looked at Claire more closely. You look different today. Something happened. Claire hesitated. She hadn't told anyone about the job offer. Saying it out loud felt like jinxing it. But Mrs. Caton had been kind when Claire had nothing to offer in return. She deserved honesty. "Someone offered me a job," Claire said. "A really good job." "That's wonderful. Where?" "Managing gas stations." "It sounds crazy, I know. The salary is—" Claire lowered her voice even though they were alone in the hallway. $65,000 a year. Mrs. Caton's eyes went wide. 65, Claire, that's amazing. It feels too good to be true. Maybe it's exactly as good as it seems. You deserve good things, honey. Don't talk yourself out of them. Inside the apartment, Claire set the banana bread on the counter and looked at the business card again. Richard had said to think about it, to talk to Ella. But what did you tell a 6-year-old about a decision like this? She picked up her phone and stared at the number. Her finger hovered over it. What did she have to lose? She was already at the bottom. The worst thing Richard could say was that he'd changed his mind. At least then she'd know it had been too good to be true, and she could stop hoping. Before she could talk herself out of it, Claire dialed. Richard answered on the second ring. "This is Barton." "Mr. Barton, this is Claire Miller. We met yesterday, and you offered me a—" "Claire, I'm glad you called. Have you made a decision?" "I have questions first." "Fair enough. Would you like to meet in person? I think that would be easier than talking over the phone." "I can't really afford a babysitter right now." "Bring Ella. I'll send a car for you. Say 2 p.m. A car. He was sending a car to her apartment in the run-down building with the broken security light. "Okay," Claire heard herself say. 2 p.m. "Perfect. The driver's name is Marcus. He'll be in a black town car." Claire hung up and immediately panicked. What was she going to wear? Her only nice outfit was the black pants and white blouse, and they were still damp from yesterday's rain. She hung them over the shower rod and turned the bathroom fan on high, hoping they'd dry in time. At 1:55 p.m., Claire and Ella stood on the sidewalk outside their building. Claire had managed to make herself look presentable, hair pulled back, minimal makeup, the black pants and white blouse only slightly wrinkled. Ella wore her best dress, the one from Easter 2 years ago, that was now too short but still clean. She clutched Mr. Hoppy in one hand and Claire's hand in the other. The town car pulled up exactly at 2 p.m. The driver, a man in his 60s with kind eyes, got out and opened the back door. "Miss Miller, I'm Marcus. Mr. Barton is expecting you." The leather seats were softer than Claire's bed. Ella's eyes went wide as Marcus closed the door and walked around to the driver's seat. "Mama, this is the fanciest car I've ever been in," Ella whispered. "Me too, baby." They drove out of Claire's neighborhood and into a part of Denver she'd only seen from the bus. Tall buildings, clean streets, people in business suits walking with purpose. The car stopped in front of a glass tower that had to be at least 30 stories tall. The sign near the entrance read, "Barton Industries." Marcus opened their door. "Mr. Barton's office is on the top floor. Just tell reception you're expected." Inside the lobby was all marble and chrome. A security guard nodded at them as they passed. The receptionist, a woman with perfect hair and a smile that seemed genuinely warm, looked up from her computer. "You must be Claire and Ella. Mr. Barton said to send you right up. Top floor suite 3000. The elevator was glass on one side. As they rose, Claire could see the whole city spreading out below them. Ella pressed her nose to the glass, Mr. Hoppy forgotten in her excitement. "We're so high up," she breathed. The elevator doors opened directly into an office that was bigger than Claire's entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a desk that probably cost more than her car had, bookshelves lined with leather-bound volumes, and Richard Barton standing by the windows looking out at the city. He turned when they entered. "Claire, Ella, thank you for coming." He walked over and shook Claire's hand, then crouched down to Ella's level. "I like your rabbit. This is Mr. Hoppy," Ella said seriously. "He's very brave. I can tell. Would you like to see something cool?" He pressed a button on his desk. A section of bookshelves slid open, revealing a small room. Inside were toys, books, and a child-sized table with crayons and paper. "I built this for when Emma visits," Richard said. "You're welcome to play in there while your mom and I talk business. Is that okay?" Ella looked at Claire, who nodded. "I'll be right out here, baby. You can see me through the door." Once Ella was settled with crayons, Richard gestured to a seating area by the windows. 2 leather chairs and a low table with coffee already waiting. "You have questions," Richard said, pouring coffee for Claire without asking if she wanted any. "Let's start there." Claire wrapped her hands around the warm mug. "Why me? You could hire someone with experience, someone with a degree." "I could. I've hired dozens of people with MBAs and years of experience. You know what most of them lack? The ability to see people as people instead of numbers on a spreadsheet. That's not enough to run a business. You're right. It's not. That's why I'm not throwing you into this blind. He pulled a folder from his desk and handed it to her. This is the training program I've designed. 6 months of intensive learning. You'll shadow current managers, take courses in business operations, learn our systems. You'll have a mentor me initially, and then one of my senior VPs once you're settled. Claire opened the folder. The schedule was daunting. Classes, meetings, site visits, all while doing the actual job. This looks like full-time work plus school. It is, for the first 6 months. After that, you'll be fully trained and running your region independently. What if I fail? Then you fail having tried something brave, but I don't think you will. Richard leaned forward. Claire, I've been running businesses for 40 years. I can spot talent. More importantly, I can spot character. You have both. I don't feel talented. Few talented people do. That's what separates the good ones from the arrogant ones. He took a sip of his own coffee. Let me ask you something. When Kevin showed up that night, desperate and panicked, what went through your mind? Claire thought back. That his daughter needed help. Not, I wonder if he's scamming me, or this isn't my problem. No, I saw a sick kid and a scared father. Nothing else mattered. Exactly. You assessed the situation, identified the priority, and took action. That's leadership. That's just being human. You'd be surprised how rare that is in business. Richard set down his mug. Here's what I'm offering, a chance to prove to yourself what I already know, that you're capable of far more than you think. Yes, you'll work hard. Yes, you'll have moments of doubt, but you'll also have support training and a safety net. What kind of safety net? If after 6 months you decide this isn't for you, or if I've misjudged and you're not ready, you'll receive a severance package of 6 months' salary. You won't be left in a worse position than you are now. Claire's hands shook slightly. You'd pay me for 6 months even if I quit. Consider it insurance for both of us. It ensures you can take this risk without fear of destroying your life if it doesn't work out, and it ensures you'll give it an honest try instead of quitting at the first obstacle. I don't understand why you're doing this. Richard was quiet for a moment. My father started this company with nothing but a high school diploma and a willingness to work harder than anyone else. He taught me that success isn't about where you start. It's about what you do with the opportunities you're given. He looked toward the playroom where Ella was happily coloring. Kevin almost lost his daughter because I'd built a life where he could forget his wallet and not even realize it until it was almost too late. That's not success. That's emptiness dressed up in expensive suits. So this is guilt. This is gratitude. And it's also good business. Companies run better when they're run by people who understand what it's like to struggle, who know that $40 can mean the difference between eating and going hungry, who lead with empathy because they've needed it themselves. Claire looked out the window. From this high up, the city looked manageable, organized, like everything made sense from a distance. I have a daughter who needs me, she said quietly. If I take this job, I'll be working long hours, learning, traveling between sites. I can't neglect her. I wouldn't ask you to. The training schedule is flexible. We'll work around Ella's school, and part of your compensation package includes childcare assistance up to $1,500 a month. $1,500. That was more than her rent. When would I start? Monday if you're ready. We'll start slow. Introduction to the corporate structure. Meet your team. Visit a few sites. Nothing overwhelming. Claire closed the folder and looked at Richard, really looked at him, searching for the catch, the hidden agenda, the moment when this fairy tale would reveal itself to be something darker. But all she saw was a man who'd nearly lost his granddaughter and wanted to do something meaningful with his second chance. I'll do it, Claire said, but I have conditions. Richard smiled. I'd be disappointed if you didn't. If I mess up, if I make mistakes, and I will, I need you to tell me directly. Don't let me fail because you were too polite to correct me. Done. And I need Sundays off. No exceptions. That's my day with Ella. Absolutely. And, Claire took a breath, I need you to promise that this isn't charity, that if I do well, it's because I earned it, and if I fail, it's because I wasn't good enough. I don't want to succeed because you felt sorry for me. Richard extended his hand. You have my word. This is a job, not a favor. You'll earn every dollar, and I'll expect excellence. Claire shook his hand. His grip was firm and warm. Welcome to Barton Industries, Claire. I think you're going to change everything. Claire spent the weekend in a daze. She'd signed papers, real employment papers with her name on them, and a salary that still didn't seem real. Richard's assistant had called to schedule her first day, Monday, 9 a.m. She'd used some of the remaining cash to buy a proper work outfit. Nothing fancy, just gray slacks and a navy blazer from Target, but they fit well and made her feel like someone who could run a business. Maybe. Mrs. Caton had agreed to watch Ella in the mornings before school and pick her up in the afternoons, refusing payment until Claire insisted. They'd settled on $200 a month, which Mrs. Caton called highway robbery, but accepted anyway. Sunday, Claire spent the whole day with Ella like she'd promised. They went to the park, fed ducks stale bread that Claire had been saving, and drew pictures together at the dining table. Normal things, anchoring things. That night, after Ella fell asleep, Claire stood in front of the bathroom mirror, practicing what she'd say to her former co-workers. To Ethan, because Richard had called her Saturday evening with an update. Your first official task, he'd said, is to visit the Rocky Mountain gas location where you previously worked. I'm making some changes there, and I want you to oversee the transition. You want me to go back there. I want you to reclaim that space. Show them who you really are, not the employee they took advantage of, the manager they'll answer to. So Monday morning, Claire put on her new outfit, dropped Ella at school, and took the bus to the gas station on Colfax. It looked the same. Same flickering light on pump 3. Same faded sign. Same oil stains on the concrete. But Claire felt different walking across that parking lot. Her spine was straighter. Her shoulders were back. She pushed through the glass doors. Devin was behind the counter, a kid who'd worked evenings when Claire worked nights. His eyes went wide when he saw her. Claire, holy shit, is that you? Hey, Devin, I heard you got fired. Ethan said you stole money or something. Ethan lied. Yeah, I figured. You were always cool. He looked her up and down. You look different. Like, professional. I am professional. I'm the new regional operations manager for Barton Industries. Devin's mouth fell open. Wait, you're my boss now. Technically, yes, but we'll get to that later. Is Ethan here? In his office. Been in there all morning. Keeps making phone calls and yelling at people. Devin lowered his voice. Something's going on. There were corporate people here Friday. They took a bunch of files and told Ethan to be here Monday for a meeting. Perfect timing then. Claire walked past the counter toward the back office. The door was closed. She could hear Ethan's voice on the other side, angry and defensive. I don't care what the new owner says. I've been managing this location for 8 years. 8 years. You can't just... Claire knocked once, then opened the door without waiting for permission. Ethan was behind his desk, phone pressed to his ear, face red. He looked up, and whatever he'd been about to say died on his lips. I'll call you back, he said into the phone, then hung up. What the hell are you doing here? Hello, Ethan. Claire stepped inside and closed the door behind her. We need to talk. If you're here to beg for your job back, you can forget it. I don't care who you know or what sob story you told. I'm not here to beg for anything. Claire moved to stand in front of his desk. His desk. For now. I'm here to inform you that your employment with Rocky Mountain Gas has been terminated effective immediately. Ethan laughed. Actually laughed. Nice try. You can't fire me. You're not even employed here. Actually, I can. And I am. Claire pulled a letter from her blazer pocket and placed it on his desk. This is from Richard Barton, CEO of Barton Industries and new owner of this company. As Regional Operations Manager, I'm authorized to make staffing decisions, and my first decision is that your services are no longer needed. Ethan grabbed the letter and read it, his face going from red to pale to purple. This is bullshit. You can't just, this is because of that night, isn't it? Because I fired you for violating company policy? No, this is because you created a work environment based on fear and contempt. Because you prioritized punishing employees over serving customers. Because you're a liability to this company's reputation and culture. I've been here 8 years, and in 8 years, this location has had the highest turnover rate in the region. Employees quit within 3 months on average. Customer satisfaction scores are in the bottom 10%. And according to the audit conducted last week, you've been pocketing cash from the till by ringing up sales as voids. Claire hadn't known that last part until Richard's team found it, but watching Ethan's face confirm it was satisfying. I was going to pay it back. I'm sure you were. Claire picked up the letter he'd dropped. You have 30 minutes to clear out your personal belongings. Security will escort you from the premises. Security? There is no security here. As if on cue, the office door opened. A man in a uniform stepped in actual professional security, not just Devin pretending to look tough. Ethan looked between them, his jaw working. You know what? Fine. Fine. This place is a shithole anyway. You can have it. He started yanking open desk drawers and throwing things into a box. But don't come crying to me when you realize you're in over your head. You think you can run a business? You couldn't even keep a simple retail job. I kept the job fine until I worked for you. Turns out the problem wasn't me. You're going to fail. You and that sob story about your sick kid and your hard life. Nobody cares. This is business and you're not cut out for it. Each word was meant to hurt. Claire could feel them hitting their targets, her insecurities, her fears, her imposter syndrome. But she thought about Ella, about Richard believing in her, about Kevin's daughter alive because Claire had done the right thing. You're right about one thing, Claire said calmly. This is business, and good business means treating people with dignity, something you never learned. Ethan shoved past her carrying his box of belongings. At the door, he turned back. I'll sue. For wrongful termination. I'll take everything from you. You're welcome to try, but I should mention that embezzlement is a criminal offense. If you'd like to pursue legal action, I'm sure the district attorney would be interested in reviewing the evidence we've collected. That shut him up. He stormed out, the security guard following. Claire stood alone in the office, her office now, and let out a long breath. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was racing. But she'd done it. Devin poked his head in. Is he really gone? He's really gone. Holy shit! Claire, that was the most badass thing I've ever seen. Other employees were gathering now. Maria from the day shift, Tommy, who handled deliveries, Keisha, who worked weekends. They'd all heard the commotion. Is it true? Maria asked. You're our new boss, regional manager, which means I oversee this location and 9 others. But yes, I'll be checking in here regularly. Claire looked at the group. I know things have been rough under Ethan's management. I know because I lived it. That's going to change, starting today. How? Tommy asked. First, everyone gets a review of their pay rate. No more favoritism, no more arbitrary decisions. You'll be paid fairly for your work. Second, we're implementing new scheduling software so you can request time off without begging. Third, I'm establishing an anonymous feedback system. If you see problems or have suggestions, you can report them without fear of retaliation. The employees exchanged glances. Is this for real? Keisha asked. Or is this corporate talk that doesn't mean anything? It's for real. I'm not going to pretend I know everything or that change will happen overnight, but I promise you this, I'll listen, I'll be fair, and I'll never punish you for doing the right thing. Maria's eyes were shiny. Ethan told everyone you got fired for stealing. I got fired for using my own money to help a customer in an emergency. That's the truth. And it's exactly the kind of thing I want you to feel empowered to do. Within reason, of course. We're not running a charity, but we are running a business that treats people like people. Tommy raised his hand like he was in school. Can we fix the light on pump 3? It's been flickering for weeks. Claire pulled out her phone and made a note. Consider it done. What else needs fixing? They spent the next hour walking through the station. Claire made a list. Broken ice machine, leaking bathroom faucet, outdated point-of-sale system, insufficient lighting in the parking lot, no working heat in the storage room. Small things that added up to employees feeling like they didn't matter. All of this gets fixed, Claire told them. You have my word. As the employees returned to their stations, Devin lingered. Claire, can I ask you something? Of course. How did you do it? Go from working here to this. He gestured at her outfit, at the confidence she was projecting. Even though inside, she still felt like she was faking it. Claire thought about how to answer. Someone gave me a chance when I had nothing left to lose, and I decided to take it even though I was terrified. Think that could happen for someone like me? I think it can happen for anyone willing to work for it. You're good with customers, Devin. I've watched you. You're patient, friendly, helpful. Those are leadership skills. Really? Really? Stick around. Learn everything you can. Show up on time, work hard, treat people with respect. We'll see where it takes you. After Devin left, Claire sat in her office, and looked around. The same water-stained ceiling, the same filing cabinets that didn't quite close, the same desk where Ethan had fired her just days ago. But it felt different now. It felt like possibility. Her phone rang. Richard's number. How did it go? He asked. Ethan is gone. The team is cautiously optimistic, and I have a list of repairs that need to happen immediately. Send it over. Maintenance will handle it. He paused. How do you feel? Claire considered the question. Terrified, excited, like I might throw up, all of it at once. Richard laughed. That's exactly right. Welcome to management. It doesn't get easier, but you get stronger. I hope you're right. I am. Trust me. Now enjoy the victory. Then get ready because tomorrow the real work begins. 3 months into her new role, Claire sat in a conference room at Barton Industries headquarters, surrounded by executives who'd been doing this job since before she was born. She was about to present an idea that could either revolutionize the company or make her look like an idealistic fool. The Giving Circle, she said, advancing to the first slide of her presentation. A customer assistance program that turns Rocky Mountain Gas into more than just a place to buy fuel. The executives stared at her. Some looked interested. Some looked skeptical. One older man, Gerald, something she couldn't remember his last name, looked openly hostile. Walk us through it, Richard said from his seat at the head of the table. His face was neutral, giving nothing away. Claire took a deep breath. Here's how it works. At every Rocky Mountain Gas location, we install a donation box near the register. Customers can contribute spare change, $1, whatever they want. That money goes into a fund that station managers can access to help customers in genuine emergencies. Define emergencies, Gerald said. Someone who runs out of gas on the way to the hospital, a family traveling through who lost their wallet, a single parent who's 50 cents short on a tank of gas to get to work. Real situations where a small amount of help makes a huge difference. So we're giving away free gas. Gerald made it sound like she'd suggested they burn money. We're investing in customer loyalty and community goodwill. The maximum assistance per incident is $30. Managers have discretion to approve or deny requests based on the situation. Managers. Gerald leaned back in his chair. You mean teenagers making $12 an hour? You're trusting them with company money. I'm trusting them to use judgment. The same judgment we expect when they handle cash transactions, manage inventory, and represent our brand. Another executive, Susan, VP of Marketing, spoke up. What's the accountability system? How do we prevent fraud? Every transaction is logged. Manager name, time, date, reason for assistance, and recipient description. Weekly audits. Any location with fraud rates over 2% loses access to the program. And if customers abuse it, Gerald again, if word gets out that we're handing out free gas, we'll have people lining up with sob stories. Then we're creating jobs for our team to manage. But I don't think that will happen. People know the difference between a charity and a business offering occasional help. We're not advertising free gas. We're quietly helping when it genuinely matters. Richard finally spoke. You've been testing this at 3 locations for 6 weeks. Share those results. Claire advanced to her data slides. She'd been dreading this moment. The numbers would either validate her or destroy her credibility. Location 1, Colfax Station. Before the program, average monthly revenue was $82,000. After the program, $94,000. That's a 14.6% increase. Murmurs around the table. Location 2, Aurora Station. Before $63,000. After $71,000. 12.7% increase. In Location 3, Lakewood Station. Before $78,000. After $95,000. 21.8% increase. Susan was taking notes furiously. What's driving the increase? Word of mouth. Customers tell their friends about positive experiences. We tracked it through loyalty card data. At Lakewood, we saw a 37% increase in repeat customers. People are choosing us over competitors. How much have you given away? Gerald asked. Total program cost across 3 locations over 6 weeks, $4,200. Total revenue increased $37,000. That's an ROI of 880%. The room went quiet. Furthermore, Claire continued fraud rate across all 3 locations is 1.2%. That's 18 instances out of 1,500 transactions where we suspect abuse. And even those 18 cases, we can't prove they were fraudulent. They were just questionable. What about the donation boxes? Richard asked. How much are customers contributing? That's the surprising part. Customers have donated $6,800. We've only had to supplement with $2,000 from company funds. The program is essentially paying for itself. Gerald frowned. That can't be right. I thought the same thing, but we've verified the numbers. People like the idea of helping each other. A guy filling up his truck throws in a $5 bill because he remembers being broke and needing help. A mom buying groceries adds her change because she appreciates a company that cares about community. Susan looked up from her notes. Have you calculated what it would cost to roll this out company-wide? Initial setup, $47,000 for donation boxes, signage, and training materials. Ongoing costs estimated $10,000 per month across all locations, though customer donations should cover 60 to 70% of that. So we're talking about a $100,000 annual investment for a program that could increase revenue by, Susan did quick math, potentially $2 to $3 million across all locations. Conservative estimate, yes, but it's not just about revenue, it's about brand positioning. We're not just gas stations, we're community partners. Gerald wasn't convinced. This is a feel-good story, but gas is a commodity. People buy where it's convenient and cheap. They don't care about community partnership. I respectfully disagree, Claire said. I have something I'd like to show you. She pulled up a video on the screen. Security footage from the Lakewood location 2 weeks ago. A woman at Pump 5, clearly agitated. Her card declined. She tried another card, declined. She went inside. The audio was poor, but they could hear her explaining to the manager, a 20-year-old kid named James, that she was driving home from chemotherapy in Boulder. She'd used her gas money for parking at the hospital. She had maybe 10 miles left in her tank and 40 miles to get home. James listened, nodded, and walked to the Giving Circle box. He pulled out $30 and ran her card as a discount. The woman cried. Right there at the counter, she broke down crying. James handed her tissues and told her to drive safe. That woman came back 3 days later, Claire said. She'd told everyone in her neighborhood about what happened. She brought a check for $100 to donate to the Giving Circle, and she's been back twice since then to fill up, even though there's a cheaper station closer to her house. The room was silent. This isn't about giving away free gas, Claire continued. This is about creating moments that matter, about being the company people remember when they had nothing and someone helped them anyway. Richard stood up. All in favor of rolling out the Giving Circle to all Rocky Mountain gas locations. Every hand went up, even Gerald's, though he looked like it pained him. Motion passes. Claire work with Susan on implementation. I want this live within 60 days. After the meeting, Richard pulled Claire aside in the hallway. That was impressive, he said. Gerald hated it. Gerald hates everything that didn't exist in 1987. Don't worry about him. Richard smiled. You just sold a room full of skeptics on a program that runs counter to everything they've been taught about business. Do you know how rare that is? I just showed them the data. You showed them heart backed by data. That's why it worked. He started walking toward his office, then stopped. Oh, one more thing. There's a board meeting next month. I'd like you to present there. Claire's stomach dropped. The board as in your board of directors. The very same. Don't panic. You'll do fine. Better than fine. He walked away, leaving Claire standing in the hallway, wondering what she'd gotten herself into, but also just a little bit feeling proud of herself. That night, she told Ella about the presentation over dinner, real dinner, from an actual restaurant because they could afford that now. So your idea worked? Ella asked around a mouthful of spaghetti. It worked. Because it was a good idea. Because people want to help each other. They just need someone to show them how. Ella thought about this. Like when you helped Mr. Kevin. Exactly like that. I'm proud of you, Mama. Claire's throat tightened. Thanks, baby. I'm proud of us. 3 weeks later, Claire stood at a podium in a boardroom that made Richard's office look small. 15 board members sat around an enormous table looking at her with expressions ranging from curious to dubious. She told them about the Giving Circle, showed them the data, shared the story of the woman with cancer, and then she said something she hadn't planned. I'm standing here because someone saw me at my lowest moment and decided I was worth investing in, not because I had credentials or connections, because I did the right thing when it cost me everything. She looked at Richard. Mr. Barton gave me a chance. The Giving Circle is about giving that same chance to our customers and our employees. About building a company where doing the right thing is rewarded, not punished. When the board voted unanimous approval, one of the members pulled Claire aside. I've been on this board for 20 years, he said. That was the best presentation I've ever seen. Not because of the numbers, though, those were impressive, but because you made us remember why we're in business in the first place. It's not just about profit. It's about impact. Driving home that night in her company car, still surreal, Claire thought about impact. 6 months ago, she'd been standing in a gas station at 2 a.m., choosing between $40 and her daughter's medicine. Now she was changing company policy, affecting lives, building something that mattered, all because she'd made the choice to help someone when she had nothing to give. Maybe kindness wasn't selfish after all. Maybe it was the smartest investment you could make. 5 years later, Claire pulled into the parking lot of the Colfax station and smiled. The flickering light on Pump 3 had been fixed years ago. The whole place had been renovated, new pumps, fresh paint, landscaping that made it look welcoming instead of threatening. But more than that, it felt different. The employees who waved at her through the window weren't just doing a job. They were part of something. "Mama, is this where you used to work?" Ella asked from the passenger seat. 11 years old now, taller, her asthma under control thanks to good insurance and regular medication. "This is where it started," Claire said. They walked inside together. Devin was behind the counter, but he wasn't a cashier anymore. He wore a manager's polo with his name embroidered on the chest. "Claire didn't know you were stopping by today." "Just wanted to show Ella where her mom spent some of the hardest nights of her life." Devin grinned. "And where she became a legend." "Did your mom tell you about the night she got fired for helping someone?" "She tells me all the time," Ella said. "It's like her favorite story." "It should be. That night changed everything." Devin gestured around the station. "This whole place is different because of what she did." On the wall behind the counter hung a framed photograph, black and white. Claire in her old uniform taken from the security footage from that night 5 years ago. Underneath a plaque, "Start with kindness. Everything else follows." Claire Miller, Regional VP, Regional VP. The promotion had come 2 years ago. She now oversaw all 47 Rocky Mountain gas locations, plus the 12 new ones Barton Industries had opened. "The Giving Circle is doing well," Devin said, pointing to the donation box. It was nearly full. "Had to empty it twice this week. Some guy donated $500 after we helped his wife when their car broke down on the highway." "Any assist cases you want to tell me about?" "Yeah, actually. College kid last Tuesday. Out of gas, out of money trying to get to a job interview. James gave him $20 from the circle. Kid came back yesterday, got the job. He's starting next week as an accountant downtown. Brought us donuts to say thanks." Claire made a note on her phone. These were the stories she collected, the ripple effects, the lives changed by $30 and human decency. "I'm proud of you, Devin. This place runs better than most of our locations. Learned from the best." He nodded at Ella. "Your mom taught me that good management isn't about control, it's about trust." After leaving the station, Claire drove Ella across town to a different destination, a park where kids played on expensive playground equipment, where parents sat on benches that weren't covered in graffiti. They walked to a bench with a small bronze plaque, "In memory of Emma Barton, who taught us that every second matters." Wait, no. Claire realized her mistake. Emma was alive. This park was named after her, not memorializing her death. They sat on a different bench and Claire pulled out her phone. She scrolled to a photo from last month, Ella and Emma at a Rockies game, both wearing oversized foam fingers and ridiculous grins. The girls had become friends. Real friends. They had sleepovers and inside jokes and the kind of bond that made their parents marvel. "Emma wants me to come to her birthday party next weekend," Ella said. "Can I go?" "Of course. It'll be good to see her. Her dad still says you saved his life." "I gave him gas, baby. That's all." "No, he says you saved his life because if Emma had died, he would have died too. From sad." Claire's chest tightened. "Well, I'm glad she's okay." "Me too. She's my best friend." They sat in comfortable silence, watching other kids play. Claire thought about how different life was now, how she didn't count pennies before buying groceries, how Ella's inhaler was always full, how their apartment new in a better neighborhood with heat that actually worked felt like home, but also how she remembered what it felt like to have nothing and made sure she never forgot. Her phone buzzed. A text from Richard board meeting moved to Thursday. "Can you still present the expansion proposal?" Claire typed back, "I'll be there." The expansion proposal was her baby. Opening Rocky Mountain gas locations in 3 new states, each one built on the Giving Circle model. Richard had been skeptical. At first, expansion was expensive and risky. But Claire had run the numbers, built the case, and convinced him, just like she'd convinced the board 5 years ago that kindness could be profitable. "Mama," Ella's voice pulled her back. "Do you ever think about that night when you helped Mr. Kevin?" "Sometimes." "Do you wish you'd kept the money so you wouldn't have lost your job?" Claire thought about it, really thought about it. "No, baby, I don't." "Why not?" "Because keeping that money would have meant Emma might have died. And Mr. Kevin would have lost his daughter, and you wouldn't have your best friend. And I wouldn't have learned that sometimes the hardest choices lead to the best outcomes. Even though you got fired, even though I got fired, because that's what led me here, to this job, to this life, to being able to help not just one person, but thousands of people through the giving circle. Ella leaned against her mother. I want to be like you when I grow up. Oh yeah, what do you want to do? Help people, but like as a job. Is that a thing? Claire laughed and kissed the top of her daughter's head. Yeah, baby, that's absolutely a thing. Later that evening, Claire stood in the bathroom of their apartment, getting ready for a dinner with Richard and his family. She caught sight of herself in the mirror. 35 years old, laugh lines around her eyes. A few gray hairs she kept meaning to color, but never quite got around to. The face of someone who'd survived and come out stronger. She thought about the Claire from 5 years ago. The exhausted, defeated woman who'd been fired for doing the right thing, who'd walked home in the rain with ruined shoes and no hope. If she could go back and talk to that Claire, what would she say? Hold on, it gets better. The pain you're in right now is forging you into something stronger. In 5 years, you'll be standing in a boardroom making decisions that affect thousands of lives. Your daughter will be healthy and happy, and you'll finally believe that you deserve good things. But more than that, you'll learn that the $40 you gave away wasn't a loss. It was an investment in karma, in humanity, in the idea that what we do for others echoes in ways we can't predict. So keep going, keep being kind, keep doing the right thing even when it costs you, because that's your superpower. Claire smiled at her reflection. She didn't need to go back and tell past Claire anything. Past Claire had already known the most important truth: some things matter more than money. The doorbell rang. Mrs. Caton coming to watch Ella while Claire went to dinner. Come in, Claire called, walking to the door. Mrs. Caton entered with her usual energy, carrying yet another casserole. I made too much again. You'll help me eat it, won't you? 5 years later, and the old woman was still pretending she accidentally made extra food. Some things never changed. Thank you, Mrs. Caton, for everything. Not just the food, for believing in me when I had nothing. The old woman's eyes got shiny. Oh, honey, you always had something. You had heart. That's worth more than all the money in the world. At dinner, Claire sat between Richard and Kevin across from Emma and Ella, who were deep in conversation about something involving unicorns and soccer. Kevin raised his glass. A toast to Claire, who proves every day that goodness isn't weakness, it's strength. To Claire, Richard echoed, who took a chance on herself and changed everything. They clinked glasses, and Claire felt the weight of gratitude settle over her like a warm blanket. But the best moment came later after dinner when Emma pulled something from her pocket. I made this for you, she said, handing Claire a folded piece of paper. Claire unfolded it carefully. It was a drawing much better than the stick figures from 5 years ago. This one showed a woman standing at a gas pump handing something to a man in a car, and in the background a little girl sleeping in the back seat. At the bottom, in neat handwriting, heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear gas station uniforms. Thank you for saving my life. Claire's vision blurred. Emma, this is beautiful. I'm going to be an artist when I grow up, and I'm going to draw pictures of people who help other people, so everyone remembers that being nice is important. Ella piped up, and I'm going to help people too. Maybe I'll work at a gas station like Mama did. You can do anything you want, Claire told her daughter. But whatever you choose, remember the most important thing is how you treat people when they need you most. Driving home that night, Ella asleep in the passenger seat, Claire thought about legacy. Not the big flashy kind that came with buildings named after you or statues in parks. The quiet kind. The kind that rippled out from small acts of kindness and changed the world in ways you might never fully see. 5 years ago, she'd given a stranger $40 and lost everything. But in losing everything, she'd found out who she really was and who she wanted to be. The Giving Circle had helped over 14,000 people now. 14,000 moments where someone who had nothing received just enough to keep going. And each one of those moments created its own ripples. Claire would never know all the lives touched, all the chain reactions set in motion, all the times her decision to help Kevin that night echoed forward into futures she couldn't imagine. But she knew this kindness was never wasted, even when it cost you everything, especially when it cost you everything.
Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.